So I just want to say welcome. Thank you all for joining us. It always feels good to have people actually come listen to you speak. So thank you for coming in. My name is Mary Schreier. I am the autism supervisor for community mental health for Central Michigan. So it's we cover 6 counties right in the middle of the state. Midland, Mount Pleasant, Big Rapids, and then the county is right above those. So, and I'm a BCBA, board certified behavior analyst. And I just want to talk to you all today about some more stuff we've been doing working with parents of children on the autism spectrum. But first, can I get a sense of how many of you here are parents or family members of people with autism? Great, quite a few. How many of you are clinicians? Any? Okay, good. And anyone who is on the spectrum is in here? Great, awesome, cool. I'm excited because we get a nice crowd. So my presentation is going to kind of touch both, across the board here. So the acceptance, acceptance and commitment training is kind of a philosophy that's based on ABA. We're going to get into that a little bit more, but one of the components of it is using mindfulness. So we're going to start out with a quick mindfulness exercise just to kind of get centered today. I know it's in the afternoon and we kind of maybe get the sleepies. So I'm going to assume that if I see eyes closing later, that it's because you're doing some mindfulness. So, yeah. Okay, so first I want you to just kind of pause where you are, take a moment, look around and notice 5 things that you can see. And now just kind of listen. Notice 5 things that you can hear. And now notice 5 things that you can touch, that you feel. And if you can't notice 5 things during any of these, that's okay. Our mind gets busy and kind of goes off on its own, and just acknowledge that. Okay, mind, and then maybe come back and you'll notice a few more. So that's just a quick centering exercise that we sometimes do to get us kind of prepared for the moment. So we'll go in and talk about some of it. So I mentioned that I oversee our ABA program, so Applied Behavior Analysis. So it is funded through the state, through Medicaid. So Applied Behavior Analysis working with kids with autism. ABA is not only for autism though, and it's really not even just for people. We can use it for animals, but it's really looking at behaviors. But because the funding and there's a lot of research showing that it's an effective therapy for autism, it often tends to get kind of correlated there. And so we're using it for autism, but I'm using it with families too. So with it, we're able to really build up skills, teach new things with it. And so with autism, we're looking more at the communication, at the toleration skills, at social skills. So as we're building those skills up, then usually we're able to reduce some of the problem behaviors. So probably many of you have already heard how behavior serves a function. And oftentimes we talk about 4 functions of behavior, but really I narrow it down to it's either you're trying to get something, gain something, get access to something, or to attention to someone, or you're trying to get away from it. You're trying to escape some attention or something that doesn't feel good, or maybe a task. So, it's really that gaining or escaping. So when we can see what is happening, we can, look at it, we can see that action. We call that a public event. And so that really helps us to kind of pinpoint what is happening, and we will look at what's happening before that behavior, what's happening after the behavior. So you might hear about the ABC data. The antecedent is your A, your right before, your B is your behavior, and your C is your consequence. So we're looking at all those pieces, and to analyze it, we need to be able to see these different pieces. And so those are all what we call public events. And historically in ABA, there's been a lot of saying, we can only look at behavior that we can see. But we realize that there's a lot of private events. We all have thoughts and feelings and emotions, right? So a lot of our things that we're doing, a lot of our behaviors are happening maybe because of a private event. So we're not able to see that, but there's something that's going on. So either way, whether it's a public event or a private event, it's going to impact our future behavior. So this is just kind of goes over that a little more too. So those public events, that's overt behavior, that can really is shaped by environmental contingencies. So we've again got the ABC up here. So for instance here, first thing we see the hot stove, touch the stove is the behavior. And then the contingency, the C is the burn the hand. That's what happens. So we're seeing all of that. It's overt behavior. But the covert behavior, so private events, that can be oftentimes like rules that we're thinking about. So we've got tons of rules, a lot of unwritten rules, right? We have a lot of written rules, but you think about how many unwritten rules we have, and that just adds to the challenges for people with autism who are already struggling to understand the social nuances and things. And then there's that expectation, well, why didn't you know that? Because it was an unwritten rule. And oftentimes with that rigid repetitive behavior that is part of the diagnosis with autism, they like to follow the rules. There's that rule-shaped governed behavior. So here we've got the example, a couple of written rules: no speeding, get to work on time, arrive to work on time. But then if you're running late to work, you've got those competing contingencies. You're thinking, am I going to speed and potentially get pulled over and get a speeding ticket? Or do I not speed and potentially get to work late? I know I'll get to work late, and maybe my boss notices and says something. So looking at those two different things. So really that covert behavior, that those private events, is that thinking through it of which one am I going to do? These are both rules. Which one am I going to follow? And the overt behavior is that actual what's happening, that behavior that we see. Either you speed or you don't, basically. You arrive to work late. So that's, before I get to this one, that's really kind of some of the stuff that we've been evolving into with ABA. So it's a field that has been growing. So many of our fields continue to grow. Like I said, we used to look mostly just at those public events, but we're becoming more aware that, hey, we need to be able to look at some of these private events too, of what is happening. So with that, we've been growing, working more with kids on some of those pieces, but also we're looking at the addition of parent training and doing effective parent training, and that really helps with whatever we're teaching the kids. That's also going to help with generalization of those skills that we're working with them and that maintenance of them. As family members, you're with the kids many more hours than we are. And, we want it to be that that's where they're getting it. So we're really recommending, teaching parents to do the same thing that maybe you're teaching the behavior tech to do, following those same programs, learning how to respond to the behaviors. And then even getting other family members involved in that training as well. But so we're also seeing, a lot of that kind of teaching, and it's effective, and we're getting a lot of good results from that. But we're not necessarily looking at those covert behaviors that parents have, the stress that they have, their own rule-governed behaviors that they're going under. So, here's an example then. So you've been working with your ABA team, and your BCBA has kind of determined that, okay, my son's meltdown behavior is a function primarily of him wanting attention. So we've practiced this planned ignoring in the home, and I'm going to take him out to the store, take him to the grocery store, and we end up with a meltdown. And so you got all these private events going through your head. Okay, I'm going to do that planned ignoring that we've been practicing. No, but I don't know if I can do this. Everybody's looking at me. What if they think I'm a bad parent? And why do good parents only never have kids that are doing things like this? And this is so embarrassing. I know I can't do this and I shouldn't have brought him to the store and I should never bring him out in public. So really kind of going through a lot of those. Now here I tagged on a couple terms that we're gonna hit later as we go more into the ACT piece of this. So cognitive fusion is that piece where you get just totally connected to, fused to certain thoughts. And you're not thinking of them as thoughts, you're thinking of those as reality. So if I'm a bad parent, not I think I'm a bad parent, just I'm a bad parent. So fusing that. Experiential avoidance is where we decide to not do something, to avoid something because we want to avoid having certain feelings. It could be you don't want to go to a certain place because it makes you sad, those memories that you have. It can be that you don't want to go to the grocery store because you don't want to experience the stress of your son melting down and trying to figure out what to do. So those are some of the pieces that we talk about with ACT. So ACT, acceptance and commitment training. Like I said, it's based on ABA as well as some other behavioral principles, relational frame theory, radical behaviorism, functional contextualism, so just some of those big psychology things. The focus really is about psychological flexibility. It's helping to be more adaptive, flexible, and creative, having those kind of responses to the private events. And research has shown that by increasing that adaptive, creative parenting behavior, that leads to less problem behaviors with kids. So good reason to try to use it with our families that have kids with autism. So a couple of behavior analysts, they did some research and looked at, had some families going through some training that they did where they followed this ACT model and trained some families. The cool thing is that these families increased these behaviors, these values directed behaviors. So really, what your value is, it's leading to these overt action behaviors that we want to see. They increased during the training. They were still increasing 6 months later. So many times, a study might show that, yeah, there was an increase and then it kind of dropped off. These continued to increase. So I thought that was super cool. It also shows there was decreases in that experiential avoidance that I mentioned. So they were more open to taking their kids out, to going and doing things that maybe they've been avoiding doing. Also an increase in their own self-compassion. So that's a big piece that we miss too many times as parents. We sometimes put our own needs on the back burner. So Evelyn Gold and Lisa Coyne, amazing behavior analysts, they created this manual and they made it free for clinicians to be able to use and follow this guide, this protocol to work with families. And so I've used it a few times. And then this last fall, I created a virtual group, so a 6-week group of parents. So it was parents of kids who were in the autism benefit through our CMH. But so super cool, one of the benefits of having taken on the whole Zoom thing with COVID is that we were able to do this, because in the past I would just be doing working with one family at a time. But this was great because the group atmosphere really helped the growth as well. So each week it was a 1-hour session. And by the way, I'm going to be starting up another round of this very soon too. But each week it was 1 hour and we would kind of have an outline that we would follow through. So some things, making connections, talking about the ACT core processes, doing some mindfulness activities, some other exercises, and just each week I would give them some practice, encourage some things that they can practice during the week. Something simple, something small, but something that they can do to be able to keep this going through the week. So here's some examples. So this would be an icebreaker. Basically, we would start each week with several questions. My name is, I live wherever, and then throw in different questions in there too. So just kind of starting points. And it was cool because it not only helped, figure out who everybody is and we got those introductions, it really built those connections, and it built that trust. So as we would spend more time on these each week, they were opening up more in the group sharing. So then the ACT core processes. So each week we would talk about a different one and go into detail, but I put them all up here so I can touch on each of them for you. So acceptance is, it's the opposite of that experiential avoidance. So just kind of allowing yourself to feel those unpleasant emotions, to instead of pushing them away, instead of trying to fight them, just allow it to happen and then continue. Cognitive diffusion. So that's that opposite of that fusion, you know, being tied to your thoughts. So this is just kind of stepping back and realizing it's a thought. So we will have things like, I'm having the thought that I'm a bad parent, you know, and just having those extra words in there sometimes can help break it up and pull you away from tying yourself so tight to those thoughts. Self is context. So that's really kind of thinking about who you consider yourself as. So it can be things like your roles, like I'm a parent, I'm a daughter, you know, I'm an employee. So some of those pieces. And with that, maybe some of the history that you have with it, your own thoughts and emotions that tie to that. So it's really kind of that who you are. Contact with the present moment then is this, we're really looking at the here and now. So we're not worrying about future. We're not ruminating about the past. We're really trying to be right now, right here. So that exercise we did at the beginning was really a here and now exercise. We were noticing what was around us. And it's the kind of exercise that I'll encourage families. You can do this while you're washing the dishes or, you know, anytime during the week. In fact, I think we gave it as an exercise one week, you know, just do this, try to do a present moment exercise at some point. The values. So again, that's just, you know, figuring out what is important to you, what matters to you, and helping them determine that it's not necessarily those values that kind of you think you're supposed to believe in or that you've been told, but really what is it that is important to you? So some of our exercises, again, will kind of work through and help families identify that. And then the sixth piece is the committed action. So that's really looking at those values and what can I do? What is that overt behavior that I can do to get closer to those values? So here was another example of, you know, one week when we talked about the core concept of diffusion, really talking about, you know, that it's your thinking, separating the thoughts from what is reality, remembering that they're just thoughts, letting it go. So then we would go into the group sharing pieces. And we would do a lot of different things with this, often talk about the stress of just normal parenting, and then the additional stress of parenting a child with autism or with any special needs. But we also would talk about the special stuff of it, the positives. You know, there's always there are rewarding pieces to raising this child and helping kind of look at those positives too. Here was one of our group sharings where we talked about the experiential avoidance. So again, just kind of getting them talking about stuff, how these ACT concepts would play out in their daily life. And then being able to kind of go through some of the questions. So things like, you know, we're explaining is that avoiding the unwanted thoughts and feelings, getting at, you know, examples, how you avoid those internal experiences, and then really talking about, are these strategies working? Are they effective? Maybe in the short term, are they effective in the long term? You know, we'll talk about going to the grocery store and avoiding going to the grocery store, and maybe avoiding that grocery store trip this week is very effective because I just cannot deal with what is going to happen. But if we continue to avoid it, is that going to be effective in the long term? So it's helpful to talk through that. And again, having it in a group atmosphere was really great because you're hearing from other parents. And we had parents with kids of different ages and different amounts of time that since they've been diagnosed. So it was really nice to have that group to be able to share their experiences. So then, of course, we would go into mindfulness activities. And so we're going to do one now, just break things up a little bit. Okay. So I just invite you to get comfortable, sit up straight, let your shoulders drop. Gently push your feet into the floor and get a sense of the ground beneath you. You can either fix your eyes on a spot or close your eyes, whatever you're comfortable with. Now, just take a moment to notice how you're sitting. Notice how you're breathing. And for the next few breaths, really observe your breath, study it. Notice it flowing in and out. Observe it as if you're a curious scientist who has never encountered breathing before. Now shift your attention from your breathing to your thoughts and see if you can notice your thoughts. Where are your thoughts? Where do they seem to be located in space? If your thoughts are like a voice, where is that voice located? Is it in the center of your head or to one side of your head? Notice the form of your thoughts. Are they more like pictures or words or sounds? Are your thoughts moving or still? If they're moving, at what speed and in what direction? If they're still, where are they hovering? What's above and below your thoughts? Are there gaps in between them? For the next few minutes, observe your thoughts coming and going as if you're a curious scientist who's never encountered anything like this before. Maybe you can imagine them going by like cars on the street or clouds in the sky. From time to time, you'll get caught up in your thoughts and you'll lose track of the exercise. This is normal and natural. It keeps happening. As soon as you notice it and realize it's happened, just acknowledge it and then start the exercise again, noticing your thoughts. All right, I'm gonna bring us back, but hopefully that helped you notice your thoughts. So this is another exercise that I enjoyed doing with them of say the name of your child. And again, it's another encouragement of thinking about the positives. I loved hearing the responses of some of the parents of the things, of one thing that they appreciate about their child and one challenge. And it was interesting how it would tie into those values too, and help lead to those committed actions that we would want to take. So another, we would do some other exercises in this. Lemon, lemon, lemon is one I'm going to actually do with you too, because it's kind of fun. So imagine a lemon, picture it, imagine what it smells like, what it feels like. And now say it out loud. Say the word lemon. Okay, now say it a couple more times. Lemon, lemon, lemon. Okay, think about what happens in your mind. Think about the lemon. And I want you to keep repeating it over and over. Say it fast and slow, loud and whisper. Lemon, 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 lemon. Lemon, 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 lemon. So are you thinking about the actual object of the lemon now? Yeah, it just kind of loses the power of the word. And so that is one of those examples we will say, you know, when you're feeling that fusion to some of those thoughts, that if you can kind of just break it up, you know, saying the word or saying something else. I had one of the moms told me a week or two after we did this exercise, she's like, yeah, I remembered that exercise and I kept saying banana, banana, banana. So yeah, that was lemon, but okay, great. Yeah. So it's fun. And it's fun to have some of those little things too, that you can just easily grab when you're in that moment too. So again, I'm having the thought that, you know, that I definitely have those days where I'm feeling really overwhelmed, but if I can then put those words in front of it, I'm having the thought that it can help break it up a little bit. Chocolate cake is another one, similar, another exercise that's similar to the lemon of, you know, thinking about it, and then you're able to just kind of, it changes its image. And then there was another one about thoughts as mental weather. So we would go through a lot of these different exercises in practice and give them these tools then to be able to have in their back pocket. Oh, here was another exercise, and this is one I'd love you guys all to just jot down or even think to yourself. 3 wishes that you have for your family, 3 wishes you have for your child, and 3 wishes for you as a parent. And if you're not a parent, think of yourself as a future parent or as the clinician working with the child. So think of 3 wishes. Can anybody share with me any of the wishes of any of those? To be happy? Okay, which one of those is that? Okay, you want your family to be happy. All right. Anybody else? Any wishes? Healthy? Okay. And which one? Is it under family, child, or parent? You as a parent. Okay, healthy. Yeah, that's good. Yeah. Be supported in school, so it's your child. Yeah, great. Yeah. Your child to be independent. Yeah. Yeah. Any others? Understanding. Yeah. Accepted. Yep. Get through grad school. Is that for you or for your child? For you? Okay, great. Yes. Yeah, back here. To feel positive about self. And which one is that? All 3. I love that. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Any others? Okay, back here. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Not to feel guilty for taking care of yourself. Yes. Yes. And that's for all parents. Yes. Oh, yes. Okay, if you didn't hear that. So as a parent, wishing for their independence, but nowhere to get support. Yes. Yeah. So these are wishes that then we start talking about are our values. You know, this is leading us to our value talk. So we had the wishes, and we talked about what's keeping those wishes from coming true. Are there barriers? Are they real or not? What's keeping them far away? Anybody have any thoughts on what might be keeping your wishes from coming true? Yeah, it's okay. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just gonna say that all of the wishes that I came up with were achievable.
Okay.
So there wasn't anything that I think was going to stand in the way of any of that.
Awesome.
So.
Is it time maybe? Because maybe you don't have them today.
Wishes. I mean, I'm sure at some point they will.
That you're good. Yeah, good. Yes. No, that's good. Awesome. Anybody else? Fear. Yeah, and that goes into our private events too. Yeah. Not enough time. Yeah. Yeah, right. We talk about resources, knowing where to turn. Yeah. And I think, you know, the comment about, what did you say, your wish about parents having time for themselves? Is that it? Not feel guilty about it. Yeah. I think, you know, sometimes we get stuck in that I should be doing this, you know, so again, sometimes we get stuck in some of those fused thoughts that we have. So, all right, cool. So then I would, you know, like I said, I gave them homework assignments. So in this one, it was a homework assignment, again, to look at those wishes and throughout the week to kind of think about if there were times that they thought about the wish and maybe notice, oh, I did this to help me get closer to that. Or no, I wish I had done something different to, you know, it kind of kept me from it. So like you with the taking time for yourself, you know, are you doing that self-care for yourself? Or are you, once again, I'm going to bed and I realize I didn't take any time for myself today. You know what I mean? So again, it's just a little bit of self-reflection. And I put it in this grid here because there's in the ACT protocol and in their whole ACT concept, there's a thing they call the matrix. And so we never really talked about it in the training, but this was kind of just touching on it, giving them the concept, which is where we are looking at those overt behaviors and those covert behaviors, and the overt behaviors that are bringing us closer to the values that we want, and the ones that are taking us away. And then the same with the covert behaviors that are getting us closer, and the ones that are taking us away. So those covert things can be those beliefs, like feeling guilty. Then it can also be the the overt of like, I don't have time in the day, you know what I mean? So just some of those different pieces. And then as we would be doing more, you know, following through on this, especially if we're working individually one-on-one, we're going to be then talking about, okay, well, you're noticing these things are keeping you from reaching those values, from coming into contact with those values. What can we do? What are some committed actions that maybe we can do? Maybe we make sure we give ourselves an extra 10 minutes, just carve out that time each day. You know, just setting some simple little things that we can do. You know, do the lemon exercise each day so that you've had even just that one moment for yourself. You know what I mean? So just some of those things that we look at those actions and what can we do? Oh, yeah, this was just, again, where we talk about the mindfulness. So where we can use it in daily life. Again, that's some of those committed actions that we can be talking about, you know, using your mindfulness, doing the notice 5 things. You know, again, just some of that piece. Let's see. And then at the end of our 6 weeks, we really, just kind of talked again about how we put it all together. So it's that psychological flexibility that we're trying to build up. So we're looking at the, no, oh well, open up. So, opening up, being open to feeling, to experimenting, to actually experiencing those feelings, those emotions, those places. So going away from the experiential avoidance and actually being there and feeling it. Allowing yourself to feel those thoughts and then maybe letting them just kind of float on by, but acknowledging them. Then the being present. Again, that's kind of back to that noticing 5 things, being able to really feel right here. Am I focused on this moment, or am I worrying about the future? Am I thinking about the past? Being aware again of your own thoughts. And is this just a thought? Am I tied to this thought? Being able to take some perspective. And then of course, the doing what matters. That brings us back to our values. What are those things that are really important to us? And how connected are we? What can we do to help guide us to that? Are we able to set some goals from those values? And then what are those action pieces that we can take with it? So, we're to that one. I've got one more mindfulness for you all. And I hope you guys like it. All right. So sit comfortably again. Close your eyes if you want. Bring your mind back to your earliest memories of your child as a newborn. If you don't have a child, maybe you can imagine another newborn or young pet. Bring yourself back into the skin of the person that you were in that moment. Notice the small size and weight of your child, how he smelled, the delicate softness of her skin. Bring yourself back into that moment and notice how you felt. Perhaps joyful, peaceful, or in awe of this completely new, amazing little being and the terror of your new responsibility. Notice that this small, vulnerable, incredibly strong little child for whom the whole world would open up in limitless possibility is the same person today as he was then. See if you can see his face now that he has grown. See if you can see traces of that newborn in his face now. He still carries now the same vulnerability and strength you felt then. See if you can make a space for that vulnerability and strength in a compassionate way as you come back to the present. What was it like for you to participate in this? What if you could gently hold that rich, full experience of your child in your awareness, regardless of what your child is doing in the moment? Part of what we're doing is noticing the struggle, and that sometimes the worst moments are also your best moments. One way to help that is to keep that compassion. And sometimes we talk about, where do you feel that compassion? Maybe you feel it in a spot on you. And hold it tight. And keep it gentle and protect it like you would protect your child. You can choose to simply act with that awareness, and you hold that thought. And you can gently come back to the moment. So any questions, comments about this parent training process that we have created? Yeah. Mm-hmm. So you can ask for it, and what I would say too is maybe ask your whoever you've got and tell them to reach out to me. Because it's, I can easily share it with others. So it's not readily used yet, but it's definitely available and an option. Yeah. Yeah. It should be, yes. So again, you can, if you're working with an ABA, with a BCBA or anyone, ask them about it. They should be aware of ACT as a protocol. They can definitely reach out to me. They can Google ACT for parents. And like I said, it's available free. Sure. Yeah. Anybody else? I think we ended a little early, but hopefully you can enjoy having a few extra minutes. So. All right. Well, thank you so much. Enjoy the day. Thank you.
You need to be on